evening, everybody. It's August 3rd. We are back for round two with Bill Mattis and myself.
Round two, you make it seem like it's a boxing match, John. Come on, it's not that bad.
Well, we ended with the boxing match at the end. That's why I got the boxing gloves out there, right, in case we need to break them out again. So we're all good. We have fun. We love it.
Sure.
It's all for fun. But big trade deadline. Big trades.
Well, before we get into that, let's mention the fact that our fearless leader is working his way across the country, as now in Pittsburgh, watching the Pirates, on his way to
Cooperstown. Canton.
Not Cooperstown.
I know.
Canton. Yes.
Canton for the Dick Vermeil induction.
Have you ever been to Canton?
I have, but I did it when I was there when I was probably 8-10 years old. So we're talking 40 years ago.
The weekend to do Canton is not this weekend, unless you're going for induction and such, because there's just so many people and getting anywhere is very, very difficult.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to be there a few different times. I went out there once with Paul Hornung.
Okay.
We actually stayed at the McKinley Hotel, the McKinley Grand. On the outside, it looks like a fairly new hotel, but on the inside, it's all cherry wood and everything. It's just beautiful. And for many years, all the players stayed there at the McKinley Grand, and the Hall of Fame put them up there. So getting to stay there, and every time you walk down the hall, 3 Hall of Famers were going the other way, and it was pretty cool. And then they bus you as groups over in school buses, basically, to the Hall of Fame for the induction ceremony. And that year, I didn't go for the ceremony. I went over during it and stood to the side while he was up on the stage. He told me to come about halftime and come get him to take him back because he couldn't stand the whole time. But the second time I was there, I guess it was with Sam Huff, same type of deal. And then the third time I was there was the best. It was with a guy named Jack Butler. Jack Butler was a defensive back for the Steelers, who played in the old era, like the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. And he got in through the Veterans Committee. And I was invited as his agent. I was invited to the party afterwards. And it was great because Jack's speech was about 8 minutes, whereas everybody else, I think Curtis Martin spoke for about 45.
Right.
And it's like 98 degrees, and the sun is just beating down on everybody. And they're like, "Wrap it up! Somebody give him the hook," But Jack got up there and said like 17 different thanks and got off the stage. He just wasn't a man of many words. But having the ability to go to the party afterwards, which I guess Carl and Lauren are doing, is a very, very cool thing. Now, Jack's party was at the Hall of Fame. It was actually at a room, like a party room behind the actual Hall of Fame. You walk through one door and you're in the museum. And you were allowed to just kind of wander through there if you wanted to. But it was very, very interesting experience. And I'm hoping that these guys have a great time too.
Oh, yeah, they will. Hey, Joe, how we doing? Joe Stinger's here.
I don't have anything coming up on. That's going to have a chat. There we go. Got it.
There we go. So, Joe's in there. Yeah, they're going to have a long weekend planned with lots of events. So it's going to be fun.
A lot to do, but the problem is getting around town is very difficult. You almost want to try to take whatever public transportation or shuttles that they give.
They're all shuttled up. So
there's no place to park, and it's a brutal situation. But it should be fun. A lot of Eagles fans are going to be out there this weekend.
Oh yeah, it's going to be definitely a lot of green out there.
Hey, listen, I have an idea. I want to talk to Carl about when he gets back. I'm thinking you and I could work on this together if you want. I'm thinking we should provide this special service to anybody who wants to come into Carl's Cards. What we can do is free grading of your card. Bring your cards in. We'll grade them for free. And, you'll have like a 1 of 1 after the time we're done with it. Free grading. What do you think?
Free grading. That'll work out good. I get 100 phone calls a day if we do grading, so that'll be good.
Well, we do. Now we do. We have free grading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There you go.
See, it's hard working without an audience because I can't tell whether that joke worked or not.
I was laughing, so it was good.
All right.
It was good. But But yeah, so what do you think? What do you think about the Phillies with the trade deadline yesterday?
Well, I gotta tell you, okay. Most of the time when I'm working in my house, I try not to have the television on, especially in the daytime, just because I think it's a distraction. I think I get a lot more done when nothing's going on. But I thought to myself, I've started to see some of the trades that were coming through my phone and stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to put on the MLB Network just for the
Right.
last hour. Okay. What a fun hour that
Oh,
was.
yeah, that
And
last hour
I'm
was.
sure you had it on from the moment you got to the store, but
Oh yeah.
I've got it on with like an hour and 15 minutes. And those guys, by the way, are really great.
Oh yeah.
All the commentary, all the commentators that are on MLB Network, I think are fantastic.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
They
It's
just really know their stuff. And, when it's your only job to know
Yeah.
baseball, then
Uh-huh.
you really better be good at it. And
All
those
right.
guys really are.
Hold on to that one thing. We got
Uh-oh.
we got breaking news here with the.
Oh, boy. Oh, my goodness.
What
There
we
he is.
got here? Doesn't look like a ball game right there.
Yeah, it sounds like a ball game. Can you hear us, Carl?
Barely. Can
Did
you
you-
hear me?
Got
Yes.
you good. We got you good.
So we're here. It's kind of like the Pirates version of Diamond Club down in the Philly. At the
Oh, nice.
Phillies. So we're. It's kind of like a 5-star dinner.
Very cool.
But the only reason I jumped in and John sent me the link, so I just want to make sure you two get along.
Oh, we are.
It's
we are.
early. It's early yet, though.
It's early, but
I know it's early, but I just want to make sure the boxing gloves are off and
you see them on the table. They're
Did
ready.
you ever go back and watch the end of that show? Did you ever go back and watch that, Carl?
Well, it's extremely loud, but
Okay.
it's we're on our way to Canton, so we stopped in Pittsburgh, Bill's hometown, and what's the name of the studs? Stubs? Where are you sending me?
Wings, Suds, and Spuds.
There you go.
It's out by the airport. Are you staying downtown or are you staying out by the airport?
No, we're downtown, like minutes from the park.
All right. Well, the restaurant's about 30 minutes then.
So yeah. So
Our hotel overlooks the stadium.
yeah, our hotel overlooks the stadium.
All right.
Oh,
Now,
very cool.
did you walk across the bridge? Did you walk?
I'm spending all of Lauren's inheritance money right now.
Did you walk across the bridge to get to the stadium?
She just doesn't know.
Surprise. So
Look, I'm checking out. I just want to make sure you boys are in good hands. And
We
I
are.
know you are.
So one last question: does everybody get to go down into the Diamond Club at the Pirates game because nobody shows up there?
Look, I'm back next week. I promise. I swear to God. This is it. This is the end of the line. But Bill, I just want to thank you for filling in for me again.
No problem.
I
No
appreciate
problem.
it.
No problem at all.
And let's go Pirates.
Whoa,
Yeah.
there you go.
I like it.
Anthony will like that.
Yes, he will.
All right. Have fun, guys.
All right,
All right.
guys. Have a great show.
No
Thanks.
problem. See ya.
Yep. Thank
Enjoy.
you.
Well, that was
So
cool.
yeah, that was cool. Joe, the boxing gloves are out there just in case I need them for tonight. And again, Joe, you were correct. You predicted Noah Syndergaard for the Phillies coming here. So good job with that. Predicting that he was going to be the guy.
Well, there was a couple
Yeah.
things. I actually went back and reviewed that show just to kind of see what we had talked about. And I think when we talked about Syndergaard, the quote was, and I think I have it on my phone, I actually isolated it, was if we could get him for cheap, I would say sure. He makes a great third person in the rotation. I was just afraid they were going to have to give up a whole lot for him. Apparently not. I mean, Mickey Moniak?
Yeah, Moniak and Sanchez, a lower level guy.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Well, the reason was because we had to take on the whole $7 million. So the Angels wanted to dump salary. They were ready to move on from him. And
well, if you also remember last week, one of the things I said was that the people who were going to jump out in the beginning and make deals early were going to be the ones that were going to pay the most. And the guys who were going to be more patient and do the deadline deals are going to be the ones that get the best deals. And it looks like that's what the Phillies kind of did. They just kind of sat back. You know, we were just talking about that hour, the hour before the deadline, and the Phillies hadn't really done anything.
No, that was the whole action. You watched the whole action.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden the Robertson trade came through. Actually, I think the Marsh trade was
first, yeah,
and then Robertson, and then the last second was Syndergaard, and you were kind of wondering whether Syndergaard was going to go our way, Toronto, or
nowhere.
Yeah, and so it was great to see that the Phillies were working hard right up to the deadline.
Oh yeah, no, it was, but I don't agree with you. Not that it's uncommon, but I don't agree. I don't agree that he's going to be the third starter. No, Noah's been in his last 10 games, he's only had 2 quality starts in his last 10 starts.
Well, who do you call the third starter then? Gibson?
No, Suarez.
Ugh.
And I'm just saying that.
So you got Syndergaard and you've got Suarez, and you're going to say Suarez is your guy for the number 3 spot. If I have to give
he's pitched better this year. Noah Syndergaard's 5-8.
So, but it's the third game of the playoffs, and you're down 2-0. You're going to give the ball to Suarez in that situation? I mean,
I trust Suarez over Noah. Yes.
Well, the thing about Syndergaard is one good thing is that he's still only 29. He's not that old.
No, I know he's coming off the surgery though.
And he's not getting the strikeouts that he used to. If you look at his strikeouts per inning, they are down. But his ERA for the season is not bad, and it seems like he is getting people out. I think it's a great gamble because you didn't give up a whole lot.
Oh yeah, no.
Now, certainly, I would have loved to have gotten Lopez instead.
Yeah,
or one of the other
Rondon from the Giants.
I'm not a big Rondon guy, but Lopez, there's a real deal there. But I'm sure they wanted a whole lot more than just whoever we gave up. So I think in that situation, that was the way to go. And you're going to bank on Nola and Wheeler as your guys, and you're going to hope that now your bullpen is solid enough that you can get through a game where your starter only goes 4 innings. Again, if Syndergaard comes out there and gives us 4 or 5 good innings, I think that's a real steal. Let's talk about Marsh for a second. Marsh is a really interesting guy. And,
yes.
I think it's actually a great gamble also. These are all gambles. These three trades are gambles in my mind. But with Marsh, at least Marsh is 24 years old. The one thing Phillies fans are going to really hate about Marsh is the amount of times he strikes out. I don't know if you've noticed his stats. My goodness, he makes Ryan Howard look like a contact hitter. He really strikes out a lot, and he's not going to be a guy that can hit at the top of the lineup because of that. He's a great defensive center fielder, which is great. At the age of 24, you got to be thrilled to have a guy like that.
Right, with 5 years of control.
And of course, I knew you were going to throw that control.
You got to drink because of that too.
Yeah, I have to drink now. But he's a guy who's growing into his career right now. If you look at his minor league numbers, AA, AAA, he was around 280, 290. I mean, he was batting 280 or 290. He didn't have the power that he seems to be showing this year, but if he can raise his batting average up to be around what he was hitting in the minors, then he's going to be a tremendous asset having. To go forward, and he will be the center fielder of our future. He's just got to hit more.
Right. Oh no,
and I think he's got to cut back on the strikeouts.
Right. He's definitely a guy that you and Philly's going to love him. Because with his beard, his long hair, he hustles. He likes to get dirty.
Phillies fans hate when people strike out, and guys strike out like crazy.
That's what I'm saying. But like you said, if he gets to be like that 280 type of guy. Philly will love him because he'll be like that Jason Worth type of guy, and
Kelsey even. I mean, with the big beard and everything.
Right. Exactly. Like he's just going to be one of those dirt balls that get down in the dirt, steal bases, do a lot of the dirty things, cover a lot of ground in the outfield, like you were saying, and
again for what they gave up. I mean, I know everybody's in love with Logan at this point, but on paper, it really didn't look like they gave up a whole lot for him. And I think he is better than anything that they have right now on the roster. And he could be the guy who winds up being your center fielder for the next 5 or 6 years.
Oh, well, that's that's the only upside is because that he's under control for that time, and I think that's the reason why they did trade Ohapi, because Ohapi would have had that control as well, and they traded the control for a center fielder instead of having another catcher.
Right. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have Ohapi sit behind Real Muto. So at this point, it's a great deal, and I like that deal. Now, is it a game breaker deal type? It's not really a game breaker. And even Robertson, by the way, the Robertson deal might have been their best deal. If you look at Robertson's stats this season, especially, he's making batters miss. He's got more than one strikeout per inning. He's making batters miss, which means that his stuff is good again. And if you look at his previous years, that's when he was at his best. When he came to Philly, he pitched about 7, 8, 9 games, and then he got hurt, and we never really got a chance. And you know what? He's been a guy that this organization, for some reason, has always coveted. They either wanted to trade for him, they wanted to sign him as a free agent. They finally get him, and then he gets hurt, and then COVID kicks in, and once again, here we are at the trading deadline, and who would we get? David Robertson. But he's coming in on a high, and you saw today, 2 strikeouts in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
Again, he's got stuff right now that's making batters miss, and that's what you need from a closer. And I'm assuming he's going to be the closer the rest of the season, and he's that guy that has that experience that we talked about last week, whereas Sir Anthony doesn't. And
right, exactly, he does. I just he's getting swing and miss right at the moment, but I'm not liking that he's only 91, 92 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's not his fastball that's getting people out. It's his
the cutter and everything that he's throwing. But it's just just something to think about. I don't know. I mean, like, he's done it this year, so he's back.
Well, the thing about Robertson, I don't know if you can come back to him the next day. That he's not necessarily an everyday type closer.
Right.
He is 37, so he's probably only here for the next few months. So he's a guy though that I think upgrades the bullpen considerably because he's having a great year. If he was having a 6.6 ERA and not getting anybody out, and we just wanted to add an arm because he's an arm, that doesn't make sense. But he's having a great season, and again, there were other closers that got traded. I would have preferred to have Lopez from Baltimore or somebody, but you would have had to give up a lot more. Altogether, we gave up Ohapi, we gave up Moniak, we gave up 2 other minor leaguers
Ben Brown. Well, Ben Brown, he was a in that Robertson deal. You basically traded David Robinson for himself right now, and a younger guy with control. So yes, you're going for it now, but Robertson or Ben Brown could be that Robertson guy in the future.
Could be. We don't know. But again, what we gave up today or yesterday for what we got, I think the upside is really strong, whereas the downside is not that big a deal.
I think the biggest move that they did was getting rid of Familia and Odubel.
Well, that's addition by subtraction. Yeah. Right. And then the other thing is, and I think I heard Harold Reynolds talk about it. He said, even if the Phillies hadn't made any trades, the fact that they imagine the team that they have right now, and you go out and get Bryce Harper and Gene Segura and add to what you have, man, you've really upgraded your team. And that's basically what they're going to do when those 2 guys come back. And then you add in what they did yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, listen, I'm not ready to just jump into the Schuylkill here and call this a championship year. But I would say I would grade them a B at the deadline. I really think that they're a B. Now, the other problem we have here is that certainly San Diego improved themselves.
I mean, they outclassed everybody. I mean,
even Atlanta improved themselves. The Cardinals improved themselves. So that wild card race is going to be crazy.
Yeah, that's my only concern. Like Joe's asking if they did enough. I think they addressed the needs that they needed. I just don't know that they did it with enough quality. Like you said,
that's why
they're mostly gambles.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm a little bit. I'm probably a C+, B-, for them. So we're close on that. But because they at least addressed the problems that they needed. They got a guy to play center field. They got an extra bullpen piece, which was nice. And although I don't think Syndergaard's going to help them for the playoffs, he's going to help them for the regular season, which then leads for them to get to the playoffs. I don't think because he's definitely better than a bullpen session. But I don't know that he's better than Suarez or Gibson the way he's pitched this year.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean,
we'll see. I mean, again, you're coming to a new league again, so it's a little bit different coming to the National League where he's pitched before, and people don't really know this version of Syndergaard post injury. So,
funny things happen with players who get traded, and they get a great new. Sorry, by the way, this segment's brought to you by Hanrahan's and Budweiser.
Budweiser, there you go.
Yes, and Hanrahan's.
Yep.
They get a new lease on life,
Right. And
he's still getting paid quite a lot of money. So I think, I know, maybe it's just me and the wishful thinking inside me. I think you're going to see him come in and put his best foot forward. I think it's a great move. If you're asking me who I want to give the ball to in a big game, it's not going to be Ranger Suarez. I'm sorry. Okay. And it's just like I don't want Sir Anthony being my closer. I don't want Ranger Suarez to be somebody that we're depending upon. I'd rather give it to a guy with the experience of a Syndergaard. Now, if he winds up getting hurt and okay, you still didn't give up much. Mickey Moniak needed a change. By the way, did you know that Moniak and Marsh were in the same draft? And
they're basically the same player so far for each of their teams. So hopefully,
I'd say Marsh is much more successful than Moniak at this point. At least he's been in the majors for 2 years, and Marsh was a second-round pick, whereas Moniak was 1 overall. So I would say Moniak was a bust compared to what Marsh has done. And Marsh actually played pretty well in the minor leagues. Moniak never really even put up numbers in the minor leagues. So
he's been doing decent in the minor leagues
the last year or two.
Right. Well, and that's where Marsh has been, but I mean, I meant as far as he's been being up and then sent back down, and he's on the yo-yo just like Moniak was here, trying to live up to that hype of being a
I think
draft
he's been
pick.
up with. I could be wrong, but I thought he's been up with LA all year.
He's on my fantasy team. He's been up and down.
Oh. Anyway, I think the teams that are in the wild card race, I'm really kind of hoping that somebody like the Mets maybe fall back to everybody else, but I just don't see it. If that could happen, that would be very helpful. But San Diego, while they did big time crazy stuff,
Right.
I still don't know if I trust that pitching staff they have, and I don't know that their pitching is good enough to get them where they want to go. Now they made the splash. They certainly made the Herschel Walker trade, and they got themselves a player that is unbelievable. But
Right.
again, he can't pitch. It's not unless Soto's going to get out there and throw 7 innings for them. They've only got like 1 or 2 guys, and they're banking on Snell. And they traded what's his name?
Well, they got Darvish and Musgrove.
Darvish. Well, yeah, Darvish is still solid, but who's the pitcher that they traded? Wasn't it a prospectish type
Well,
guy?
yeah, it was Mackenzie Gore that they
Right. Yeah, and I think he was probably considered one of their top pitchers, but
he was, but he hurt himself. He's hurt. I don't even know if he's going to pitch this year. I don't know that he has Tommy John coming in his future, but he had elbow or arm issues that he may not pitch right now. But the Nationals don't care because of the talent he has.
The move the Padres did make that, to me, helps them considerably is by getting Josh Hader, and that came out of nowhere. I understand it from a business standpoint what the Milwaukee Brewers were trying to do, but I mean, you better hope that works out for you. Now they have other players who, Williams, who can be the closer there, or you can use Taylor Rogers, who they got in the trade, but still, that's a big move to take one of the most favorite players in the clubhouse as well as fan favorite and move him in a trade like that at the deadline.
That's my biggest thing. I think that's going to hurt because you can even see Devin Williams, who you're saying will replace him as the closer. He didn't like the move, because that's what the Brewers are built on. They're built on that back end of the bullpen. You give me their starting pitching gets you 5-6 innings, 6-7 innings, I should say, and then you got Williams and Hader to close the games out, and it's
Well, the whole idea about trading Hader was that next year, they were going to have to pay him a lot of money, and
right.
they couldn't do it, and then they realized that, and
Yeah.
so why not get what they could for him? And they got a pretty decent package. I don't know if it's all going to pan out or not. I'm not a big Taylor Rogers fan, but that Williams kid can play. He can pitch.
Yeah, no, he'll be fine with them, But I mean, they got in that Soto deal, they got Josh Bell as well.
Yeah, I mean, and they also picked up Drury in another deal.
Drury is another one, yep.
And so they've picked up some bats, and that lineup is very strong, and I just don't know about the pitching, but we'll see.
Yeah, well, the pitching, as far as your starters, like you said, yeah, it's a little bit.
If you line up that pitching against LA, not even close. LA can wipe them across the deck.
Well, like Joe said, the Dodgers are his pick. I don't know that anybody beats the Dodgers. Teams anybody could beat anybody, but if you just stack up lineups to lineups, you're going to pick the Dodgers.
Yeah,
most nights.
And mostly because I think mostly because they're pitching. I mean, their bullpen's fantastic. They got great starters.
Yeah.
And they've got a lineup that can compete with other people's lineups. Maybe San Diego's a stronger lineup right now, but again.
Yeah, they might have a stronger lineup if you look at it that way. But like you're saying, the pitching, when it comes to playoffs, pitching is where it counts. And,
exactly. Hey, look at that. We agreed on something. How about that?
Exactly. I know. It happens.
Once in a while.
Just like with Lauren, you come around to my side. You see the good sides. But it is. It's interesting to see. Like I said, I just hope that the Phillies aren't satisfied with just making the playoffs. Just to be able to say, we made the playoffs and get their doors blown off in the playoffs, and then they can say, oh look, we stopped the 27 or the 10-year playoff drought. We made it to the playoffs, and because I don't believe that this is 2007. The way that they made these moves, because they have a lot of moves they have to make again next year. They got like 7 or 8 holes to fill next year because of all the 1-year contracts that they have in the bullpen, and hopefully Segura says he wants to stay here and finish his career here. But you got Didi. You don't know, he's a free agent, and you're going to need with Eflin going down, you're going to need 2 or 3 starters probably next year.
Well, I think you're going to see some of those young pitchers that we talked about last week. I think somebody's going to get a look in spring training as a possibility to make the team. If not, they'll start at AAA and come to Philadelphia sometime in maybe June or May. I'm not worried about Eflin, frankly. I mean, he's irrelevant. Wheeler and Nola getting hurt, those two would be big time losses.
Of course, yeah.
And as far as Didi's concerned, I like Didi. I don't love Didi. They signed him to a relatively decent contract for 1 year, and maybe he'll do it again. I could take him or leave him. And you know what? Maybe this offseason there'll be other shortstops available that can be more effective. Didi just doesn't seem to be what he once was, I guess.
No.
Good way to put it. I'm not ready to give the job to Stott, although at some point I'm hoping that he can be a productive major league player. But the Phillies have put enough of a commitment forward by spending the money that they have, that to not fill those holes effectively would be like quitting midstream. And at that point, why did you do what you did? I think they're committed to putting the best lineup out there. And I think I have faith now in this organization. And I think that he will do what it takes to get things done. And, the fact that they didn't deal any of their top-notch minor leaguers gives you the ability to do that down the road if you still want to, maybe in the offseason even. But free agency has changed everything. It's gotten even more radical lately than it was when it first came about, where teams can change their entire outlooks by signing 2 or 3 free agents. And we thought that happened with Schwarber and Castellanos, and
Mm-hmm.
it helped if Castellanos had a great year, but I still think they've made enough of a commitment going forward here that they'll continue to do that. And maybe they won't maybe they won't give somebody another 10 years, $300 million contract, but I don't think they're going to be afraid to give somebody a 2-year, $35 million contract, or, a 2-year, $40 million contract just to be able to fill a spot. I think I have faith in the organization and in the general manager and the ownership that I think they can close this deal. And would they be happy? Would they be satisfied with a playoff spot? Nobody's ever satisfied if they go in and lose that playoff game, that one game series.
Well, three. It's best of three. Best of three.
Best of three now. Anyway, I'm just saying, getting there is step one. You can't get to step two without step one. And if they were to lose, they're not going to turn around and go, well, at least we made the playoffs. It's not going to be like that.
I hope not.
Baltimore, on the other hand, if they did that, they would be like, yeah, well, at least we made the playoffs. But here, I think it's win or go home. And if they got anything less than a league championship series, I think it's a disappointment.
But do you think that this team is built enough to be able to do that?
Maybe. It all depends upon if they catch fire or not, and if they stay healthy the rest of the way. Where would we be with Bryce Harper for the last 30 days? Would we have 5 more wins, 7 more wins? And then you add that to the record that they have right now, and where does that put us in the division? It's hard to really say what could have happened. And, if they can stay healthy the rest of the year, Harper comes back fairly healthy, at least enough to play and hit, they're as good as anybody in the National League, at least in the Braves or the Mets. And I think they have a legitimate chance to win a 7-game series if it comes down to that. And that's just the way I feel. Maybe I'm a homer, and maybe I'm thinking, with my heart, but I look at the people on this team. They have strong pitching, at least in the top 2 starters. And now I think they've strengthened the bullpen.
Yeah, the bullpen's plus.
I think things are much better than we were at this spot last year. I really do. I think last year we still had many questions, and right now we don't have as many questions. The center field, you can still call that a question, but at least they're giving something a shot here, and they're giving them a try. And I think Marsh can be a good player if he continues to develop.
Right. Oh no, I agree. It's the top of the hour. We got to give sponsors a little plug here for City Distilling for presenting our show here, making it happen, and of course Carl's Cards for making it all happen as well. And August 8th, you're going to have Derek Hall sitting right here, and then on.
How was the Ohapi signing? I saw pictures of the line going around the corner.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
He was the nicest guy. It's a shame because we were talking. Him and his girlfriend were here, and his agents, and they were checking the phones and stuff. And he really wanted to be here. He said he didn't want to leave. He wanted to at least put the Phillies uniform on since they were the ones to give him a shot. Picking them in the 23rd round, and for him to be where he's at now, he really wanted to be here, and but he knew it was, it's part of the business. Things happen, and he it just didn't work out. But you couldn't have asked for a nicer guy.
And on the other side of that whole thing, I think when this happens, let's just take Josh Hader for example. When he gets the immediate shock of being traded, and then he starts thinking about where he's going and who he's going to be playing with, and where the direction of that franchise is, and Logan's got to be thinking, you know what, I could be a starting catcher in the major leagues within a year.
He jumped to the number 1 prospect in their farm system. So
right, and they aren't really set at catcher. I couldn't even tell you who the catcher is. So
he'll be up quick.
So this gives him a big opportunity, unless he wanted to carry JT's bag for 3 years. 2 years. I don't. This is probably the best thing that could ever happen to him.
Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, the move going from the East Coast to the West Coast, and that kind of stuff was a little bit of a change that they're going to have to get through. But he didn't know, that's wherever he was going to go, because he didn't have any. Like you said, he was caught off guard. He didn't think he was going anywhere. He heard the same stuff that we were saying, that he was untouchable. So.
I didn't see that. I mean, everybody talked
Oh,
about him possibly being
No, that's all the reports.
that was going to go.
Well, they put it out, all the reports. Him and Ben Brown were untouchable, along with Painter and Abel, and
I heard the Painter and Abel were not going.
the top five guys, 5 or 6 guys that they mentioned.
I heard Dombrowski talk specifically about the pitchers, the young pitchers, and
Right.
he mentioned them by name. He did not mention Brown or.
Yeah, him and then the McGriff guy as well. But
McGarry?
Yeah, McGarry. Yeah, was it Griff McGarry? But
yeah, those 3 were the ones he said they weren't going to move.
Right. Yeah, and then Hoppy was mixed in there in the article and stuff. But it is what it is. It's part of the business, and you got to give something to get something. So, but yeah, he was awesome. The lines were around the corner of the building and everything, and back through the back parking lot. So yeah, it was a nice turnout for him. And
so I'm guessing Derek Hall's probably going to be even better.
Yeah, he's got a nice following right at the moment. So yeah, things are going well with that. Then we got Dick Vermeil going to be here August 20th, and so that August 20th weekend, you guys got to keep it open, because the 20th is Dick Vermeil is going to be here. And then the 21st is going to be Zach Wheeler. So it's going to be a fun-filled place here at Carl's Cards on that August 20th weekend. So
that's a big couple days right there.
And of course,
what day of the weeks are those?
Saturday and Sunday.
So Wheeler's a Sunday.
Wheeler's on Sunday. Yep.
Is that after day?
Yeah, it's 7:30 to 9, I believe.
Okay.
For that one. Yep. After the game. And then, of course, Derek Hall on next Monday, or this Monday coming up, is going to be an awesome thing for us, because we're good friends with him, and it's nice to see him take that next step up in his career and making it to the major leagues.
And he's done a good job.
Oh yeah. No, he had us nervous there a little bit when they didn't have him in the lineup for a couple of days right before the deadline. We weren't sure if he was part of a package that might be going away, but he was back in there yesterday and did well. So he got the RBI. He got the lone RBI yesterday, so that was nice to see against Strider.
Yeah.
So yeah, we did that. So you want to move on to football a little bit?
I guess so. If you're done with baseball, go ahead.
Well, I mean, we're not that I'm done with baseball, but we're got a little bit of time we got to save here for some football talk. Okay. You being a football coach, how do you like these new plans that teams are going with training camp? Light camps, no hitting, no tackle onto the ground. Every third day off. Every third day you got a day off. And
is that an agreement through the Players Association?
Somewhat, yes, and then some a little bit more with Sirianni's plans.
We never hit whenever we practiced.
No,
there was more injuries that come from it than anything else. At that point in their career, my guys were almost as old as the Eagles players in some cases. Okay. I mean, a lot of them were younger guys that were just out of college, but for them to hit, it just was something that would risk injury and wouldn't prove anything to us. Now, we get in games and miss tackles, and that would be a problem, but we never seem to have that problem. I don't know. It's more about playbook orientation, camaraderie, getting together with your offense and getting your defense together, and you need to know where your other players are on your unit without even looking. Need to know, almost have a feel for it. And practice is something that it's a lot of, in the beginnings, it's fundamentals and just getting back in shape. And then when it comes to the season or preseason, you're practicing for your opponent, and you're trying to pick on tendencies that you found in film and then try to find ways to exploit that. And whether or not you put guys one-on-one and do tackling drills and things like that, those days are over. I mean, I remember in high school having to do that stuff. My head was ringing by the end of the day, and it didn't stop until dinner time. And you had to go back out there and do it again in the morning. And you wonder, gee, I wonder why these guys are all coming down with CTE and other issues from that. I have seen some interesting pictures, whereas a lot of the camps are using those helmets that were with the foam coverings and stuff. And I wonder why we didn't go there earlier. I mean, what took so long for that kind of thought process? But
and to see that the way they're doing it, I wonder if there's going to come up with a technology where that's actually the helmet that they actually use
in the games.
In games, yeah. Like Vamp, rework the helmets to be able to have that, work. I mean, obviously you saw Kelsey put the extra bubble wrap around it to get the extra 3% that he was saying, joking about, because they said that it was like 20% better or 25% better in less impacts with that.
Are you old enough to remember a guy named Norm Bolash? Norm Bolash was a fullback type, played for the Colts and the Dolphins, and then he came to the Eagles. And by the time he had come to the Eagles, he had so many concussions that he put that padding on his helmet.
Really?
And he was one of the first ones that I remember seeing do it. And I don't know how effective it was for him, but he may have been the first ones to ever to take advantage of that opportunity. But it's such a different world today with all that we know now about head injuries. When I was at the store one day, I had my high school coach there, and we were talking about why players are not coming out for football. And a lot of times it's because the parents are scared to death because they don't want their kids banging heads and getting head injuries. And maybe that is the way. Listen, when I was out there coaching and stuff, these players use their helmets as weapons.
Oh yeah.
They tackle too much with their head. And those helmets, if you've ever picked up an authentic helmet, those things, they weigh like 5 pounds. And they are so built that you lead with that. You could hurt somebody or yourself.
Right.
And
exactly.
That's why you see these guys sometimes knock themselves out, just because they lead too much with the crown of their head. And that's why the rules have changed so significantly. And you might be right. Maybe down the road, jokingly, I was with, believe it or not, this is probably 8 years ago, with Capoletti and Horning, and we were up in the Pocono area, and we were at a diner, and I said, if they want to get rid of head injuries, maybe what they should do is just go to flag football, and play flag football instead, because at that point, you don't have to have that head tackle. And it was joking, but it's almost like that's kind of the complete end of the spectrum, and we got to try to settle somewhere in the middle.
Well, that or go back to the leather helmets, type of days where, because guys don't maybe you still tackle, but or like rugby guys.
That's where we went with that, because I said to Horny, I'm like, look, you remember the helmets that you used when you first started, and Cap was saying, heck, I was using suspension helmets that had barely, it was just a shell, and he said, the leather helmets, he's like, you didn't drop your head. You didn't tackle anybody with your head when you had a leather helmet on. That was all, you had to use arms and shoulders, and that's what you had to do. And I said, well, maybe that's what we need to do. Go back to leather helmets, make it so that the players have to use their arms and their legs and arms and shoulders to be able to tackle people. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's either that or with those extra pads on the outside. But yeah, you kind of have to, because like you said, the players are just using the helmets as weapons right now to make the tackles. Because half of them don't even wrap up and use their arms anymore. They just try to hope that the impact is enough to knock the person over, and instead of wrapping them up and tackling them. But
the game has gotten to the point where it's almost like a gladiator type scenario, where you send your warriors into the arena and they know that they may not come back, and they're well paid because of that.
Oh yeah.
I mean, so a lot of the guys that play the sports who are really good at it, they say, hey, I'll take the chance for the money because I'm going to get, taken care of for the rest of my life by going out there and playing 4, 5, 6 years. I'll take the chance.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Now the guys that played in the 60s, they weren't so lucky because they didn't get that much. They if they made 15,000 in a year, they were an upper scale player.
Exactly.
And they were cracking heads with guys on the other side that were just as mean as they were. So yeah, the game's come a long way. I don't know whether it's come for the better or for not, but it's the most popular game out there, I believe. I think it surpassed baseball a while ago.
Well, yeah, I think because it's a shorter. Yeah, that, and I think it's because of the shorter 16 games. It's like every game matters. Where, like baseball, it's 10 games equal one football game type of thing. They moved it to 17 now, but just having that once a week type of thing. It's an event versus playing 6 times a week with baseball type of thing.
There's a lot of other factors too. There's the gambling situation. There's,
of course, yeah.
They're just, I think that event once a week.
Right.
You go down there to the stadium and it's a day or a weekend.
Oh yeah.
Even at the college level, people start tailgating on Thursday.
Right.
And they come home on Monday morning, and then they go to their job for 3 days, and then they go back to the stadium again for the next game. It's there's no other sport like it in that respect, where it's
right.
that kind of event until the playoffs of the World Series. But it's a great game, and I actually believe, I've always thought of baseball as being my favorite sport.
Right.
But if you're asking me which sport I like to watch the most, the truth inside me would tell you that it's NFL football, but I still like to believe that I'm a college basketball guy and a college football guy, and then there's baseball. But, baseball's gotten tough to watch sometimes.
Well, sometimes, yeah. I mean, if you're just looking for the action, but I enjoy watching, the good pitchers duel. Like even like today's game, it was 3-1. Phillies looked like they were out of it up until the 8th inning there, and Castellanos hit the 2-run homer to put them ahead, and it was an ugly inning. Hoskins walked, and to get things going, and it's. But those games are fun, because it's sometimes good to see the pitchers do well, even though we don't like to give pitchers too much credit in the game type of thing. But as players, but it is fun to see Wheeler dominating like he was. He gave up the 1 home run, then going against Charlie Morton, who was dominating himself, but with like not throwing 100 miles an hour like Strider was yesterday, but just picking corners, throwing pitches and stuff. It was
Charlie Morton always gives us fits. He really knocks us out.
Even when he was on our team.
Well, then he got hurt right away.
Well, that's what I mean.
But yeah, that was today. It's too early to say that was a must win, but that was a very important game for them to go and win because, especially after getting their snot kicked out of them last night.
Right.
They really needed a win like that to give themselves a little bit of a momentum push, and hopefully it'll carry forward.
Right. Plus, it makes them now 6-6 with the Braves throughout the season. So
Braves don't scare me when it comes to the Phillies versus Braves, and the Mets don't scare me. Phillies versus Mets.
The Mets definitely do because we haven't beaten the Mets this year.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just feel like. I was watching the Mets play the Nationals. I think I was watching.
Yeah, they lost. Yeah, they lost the Nationals last night.
Yeah, so I mean that was a national team that was completely.
We got to play the Nationals this weekend, so.
Well, that's good, and all those talks about having the easiest schedule going down the stretch. That's when we need that to kick in right now. How do we get back to baseball? By the way, anyway, if that is true, and the Phillies can hold serve with all of these poorer teams or lesser teams, and if the Mets and the Braves have to play a tougher schedule, who knows? The Mets could go on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, and if at the same time the Phillies or the Braves are winning, the next thing you know, everybody's within 3 games of each other. So
Yeah, 6.5 games right now behind the Braves, and then 9.5 behind the Mets. It's still, not impossible, but it's you need a lot of things to go right for you, especially since we don't play the Mets enough. I think we only play them like 6 times maybe, and
I'm just still not believing that the Mets are that good, but it remains to be seen. They're still in first place.
Yeah, I mean, you keep throwing that pitching out there, that they have, they'll be good. But it's fun. But let's talk some positives about Jalen Hurts, since everybody thinks that I hate Jalen Hurts. To get back on our football, because I have some information that tell you how he's not much of a good passer. But before we're done, but we'll go with positives first. He's a good leader. Do we all agree on that? That he seems like he's a good leader.
Who else? Oh, do I agree with it? Yes, it seems to me like his players
are behind him.
They rally around him. They seem to want to play for him, and that's very important for a quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. He's a hard worker. He works hard.
Yep.
And
many of these players he's known, from before at Alabama or wherever else. But
right.
So I think there's a familiarity there, and I like the fact that you've got young players playing together and learning at the same time.
Right.
Devontae Smith and him, and even some of the other guys who are still within their third or fourth year, they're all still learning, and it takes time to gel as a unit, and it takes time to improve as an individual. So.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I think he's from all reports that we hear, he's a quality human being himself, type of thing. So I mean, which is all good things that you want to get behind a guy like that, right?
Sure.
Type of thing for if he does get to improve our negative things that we have. But,
well, hopefully he doesn't go and get lots of massages or something.
And then the best thing so far that he's shown at the NFL level is he's a very elusive runner and a quality runner when he does get out of the pocket and makes players miss and can make plays with his feet.
Yeah, and you know what that does to the defense? That actually makes
the
defense. It makes the defense almost have to commit one player
right.
to him as a spy of some sort, and it gives the defense an extra thing to worry about, and it's a legitimate thing to worry about.
Right.
If you're on the 6-yard line going in, and the initial, when the initial receiver is not open, to tuck it and go, why not?
Right.
Exactly.
Oh yeah. Oh. Yeah. No. And that's where he does excel, and you appreciate that. The only problem, I'm just leery of quarterbacks that are like that because we've seen RG3. They're just one shot away at that point. From becoming hurt and not successful.
Well, there was a guy that came in and challenged for the job about 40 years ago, and we had this guy named Jaworski who'd been here forever, and then this kid
right.
named Cunningham came in, and they would use him on certain downs. They would use him for a series here and a series there, and you know what? He ran the ball better than he threw the ball, and some of the runs that he made are still on highlight reels.
Legendary.
And, he also then learned how to throw the ball, and he learned when to run and when not to run. By the middle of his career, or even 2 or 3 years into his career, he wasn't running the ball nearly as much as he was as a rookie or the first year, second year.
Right.
So it's a development thing. And, Jalen will probably be the same way. And I think the same thing's going to happen with Josh Allen. Josh Allen running the ball was one of Buffalo's best weapons in some of those games in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Him just tucking it and going, forget about it. You can't stop the guy. He's like a runaway freight train. And he was clearly their best weapon. And then when that happens, it makes the defense have to rely upon not allowing him to escape the pocket. So the fact that Jalen has that threat and that ability, much like Randall did when he first came out, I think that just adds to the package. And
No, it does. But the difference between Randall and Josh Allen is they have cannons on their arm. Randall just flicks the ball and it's 60 yards down the field.
that's
70
true.
yards down the field, right?
But he wasn't real accurate when he first came out. And
I'm not saying that you have to be accurate. You got to have that skill set that you have an arm, because you're going to be able to build, work into those things. But you can't have a guy not having that arm talent to then grow into being able to throw accurate more.
So if I can just get 5 more minutes worth of positives, I don't have to listen to the negatives. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, you're trying to, but I got fourth passing stats for you that shows that he needs to take major steps.
Hold on.
I'm trying to be positive about with him.
I can't hear. Okay, so you're talking about a guy. How many years has he played in the NFL?
He's played 2 years in the NFL.
Has he played 2 years in the NFL, or has he been in the NFL for 2 years?
He's been in the NFL for 2 years.
So he hasn't really played for 2 years. He's played.
He's got about 22 starts under his belt.
Okay, so he's still relatively new. I would have called last year his rookie year, frankly, because he really didn't play much the year before, at least not in meaningful situations. And I think whatever stats you're going to throw at me don't matter. Okay,
of course
you can throw me, you can show me a past patterns, and you can show me.
No, it's not about that. It's just rankings in the NFL.
Come on, rankings in the NFL. He's been in the NFL for 1 year, basically. Okay,
but the only person that you could say is worse than him was Trevor Lawrence from Tampa Bay or Jacksonville.
You mean the number 1 pick overall?
Yep.
Oh, he's probably not going to make it then. Is that what you're telling me? Because Trevor Lawrence had the worst stats?
Well, I don't know. I'm not
saying take Trevor Lawrence on your team right now?
I don't know. To be honest, I don't know.
Then you shouldn't be involved in any kind of player personnel stuff with football, because Trevor Lawrence is fantastic. Okay, and frankly, I would deal Jalen for Trevor because he's that much better. He's the number 1 pick, and he has a bad team around him. It's the first year.
And that's why I'm not saying I don't know. That's why I'm not saying he's bad or not. I don't know.
How did we get back to this? I don't know.
Because we need football talk. But anyway, the good passing stats that Jalen does have. He's 7th in the league in interceptions.
And Carson Wentz was first. But anyway, go ahead.
No, seventh best, because he throws less. I said a good stat. I'm not saying that he throws more, because he only had 9 interceptions throughout the year.
Again, it's something
thing
that is out of context, really, because it's a year of learning, a year of development. In year 4 or 5, if you're still throwing stats out there that are similar to what you're talking about, it's a problem. And frankly, then you could say this isn't working out or didn't work out.
No, I understand more. But my only point with this is that he's in the 21st, 23rd rankings for passing, as in a bad spot situation. So he's got a long ways to go to get to a good spot. Do we agree? Like, he's got to jump a lot way to become a better passer.
He has lots of improving to do. Yes, I will give you that.
And that's all I'm saying. So we agree.
But every player, player at every position, typically, unless you become like some sort of a god out of college, it's a whole different world playing in the NFL than you.
I completely agree with that. I completely agree with that. I mean,
fortunately for us, that Jalen played at some very good colleges that played against basically pro competition. But here's the thing I need you to do, John. Okay, I need you, if you really are indeed a Philadelphia Eagles fan, because I think you are. I need you to give the guy a chance. Just give him a chance, okay? And use positive waves, use positive thoughts, okay? And root for him instead of trying to find every little thing you can that proves that he's not good or not going to be good or not whatever. Let's talk about the things that we're looking to see improvement with, and then when it happens, we can all go yay and hug.
Oh no, I understand, but we also have to give an honest opinion of the way he is right now, right?
Hey, he's your guy right now, man. He's the guy. I mean, unless you're ready to go with Gardner Minshew,
No, I agree. But what I'm saying is, if he does take that next step, this team could be a 13, 14 win season.
I think that's aggressive, but yeah,
it's aggressive. I understand what I'm saying, but they have a lot around him. If he takes that next step where he can get to a top 10 quarterback in the league, that's where they could be because they have a lot of things going on. I mean, 13, 14 obviously is.
I'm a big believer in if you. I was just saying this to my wife about my diet. Anyway, if you have a constant that goes like this, and you affect that constant with either something positive or something negative, your constant's going to be affected. Okay, it's either going to get better or it's going to get worse. Let's take a diet, for example. Let's say you eat the same exact thing every single day for the next 3 weeks. Okay, if you add exercise to that, you should lose weight. You should, as long as you don't eat more or drink more and everything else is constant and you exercise, you should lose weight. And what I'm trying to say is with Jalen Hurts, if he keeps a constant road and you add pieces like A.J. Brown and all the other things that we added, that's got to alone make him a better player. And then if you can get to the point where Jalen can start to improve on different things that aren't making you happy as a fan or making, it just not working, well, then the sky's the limit. And, if we had not addressed the wide receiver situation in any way, and we're still throwing to the same clowns, I think Jalen Hurts is out on an island and we didn't do enough to help him. But now he's got weapons. And yeah, to your point, if he can't win with these guys, then maybe Jalen Hurts could be the problem. I think what's going to happen, though, is you're going to see that he's going to blossom. And I think that constant is going to go in an upper direction. That's just,
and I completely agree with you. I hope that he does. I just don't to this point he hasn't shown that he could, and it doesn't mean that he can't.
I don't know that he hasn't. I don't know that I agree that he hasn't shown that he can't, because he has shown at times
as a passer, because
even at times as a passer he has made good throws, and you can't.
Everybody's going to make a good throw if you're in the NFL.
Oh my God, here we go.
Right? I mean, no, seriously. I mean, you wouldn't be in the NFL if you couldn't make.
So he has proven at times that he can be a good passer, right?
He makes good throws to the outside of the field.
Okay, so what?
Because why? Because he's afraid to throw it.
No, because Devontae Smith's out there, and
Devontae Smith he goes across the middle.
Can I tell you something? As a coach, I never wanted my quarterback throwing across the middle. Never. Do you know why? Linebackers make dead people out of wide receivers when they go across the middle. I don't want them throwing that. There's the 1 zone, the 2 zone, and the 3 zone. I never want them to throw to the 2 zone. I never want them throwing down the middle in a crossing pattern. Now, if you want to go deep on a post, that's different. But you don't want your quarterback throwing somebody right on the break, because
that's the NFL. That's the NFL right now.
Robert, no, but more than likely they're going. Listen,
that's AJ Brown's game.
I've never met a receiver that loved going across the middle.
AJ Brown's that's his whole game.
If he's going to sit down, that's different. If he's going to keep going and run himself into a safety, it's going to get hurt. Okay, throwing across the middle. Can I tell you something? Throwing across the middle is the most overrated throw that you want. You don't want to do that. You want to be able to throw accurately to the outside. And if it's short, deep, whatever, those are the throws that you need to know how to make. And yeah, I'd prefer not to see you clear the middle and then you throw it to him on the other side, or you get him the ball before he gets to the middle. Those are the two areas that you want to hit the receiver. You let him clear the linebacker and throw it to the other side. And on your spreadsheet, it'll say that it's thrown to the outside, but it was really a crossing pattern. That's why I was trying to tell you last week.
Yeah, but he doesn't throw any guys going across the middle. I'm saying he doesn't do any crossing because they're all throws to the outside. But that's okay.
Well, maybe it was Rieger that was going across the middle. He didn't want to throw.
Maybe. That very well could be.
To me, like I said last week, the thing that he really needs to improve upon is settling in on one receiver. He cannot stare that guy down from the snap, and he did too much of that. He has to be able to look a receiver off and then come back to him and know where he's going to be and know that he's going to be open and throw the ball directly. And those are things that just take time.
No, that's true. That's true. Sue's calling a timeout right at the moment. She's saying
Time's up.
Time's
I
up.
think there's time's up. She didn't say time's out.
Oh yeah. Well,
See, this is where, you know why? Because Carl has to pay me time and a half at this point.
Oh.
And Sue's like, no, get him off the air. I don't want to have to pay time and a half.
Yeah, I know.
A beer and a half, you know? I mean, come on.
No, there's more. There's more
Right
on
now,
here, Joe.
I'm racking the money in at 7:35 now.
Yeah,
I say we keep going.
we keep going. Yeah. But anyway, follow us the next couple of weeks. We'll end the show here, but follow us the next couple of weeks. We're back here still in next week, and then August 17th we're at Dagwoods with Bill Barber, and then August the 24th we're at Hannerhands with Blair Thomas. So we got two big shows coming up. You will want to follow, mark your calendars, and come out for that. That'll be good. And so yeah, we'll have more positivity coming up soon. So on that,
John, before we go, I just want to thank you for having me for the last 2 weeks. It's been great.
Thank you.
Glad that I could help out with Carl, and I hope he has a great time out in Canton with.
If he doesn't have a good time out in Canton, that's his own fault.
Is it just him and Lauren?
It's him and Lauren. Yep.
That's great. That's great. A little father-daughter thing going. Yep.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So yeah. Until
I see a lot of similarity with Carl and his daughter as me and my daughter. So I kind of understand that whole situation, and it's nice to be able to have one-on-one time.
Right. Exactly. Oh yeah, that is always nice. So until next week, we'll see you guys. Thanks for everybody tuned in, and have a great week. Let's go Phillies.
Go Phillies and Eagles.